Welcome all. Wells, thank you so much for being on time, early even. I really appreciate that. If you would like to, people have already kicked it off, but if you would like to introduce yourselves in the chat and just say where in the world you are, be a lovely way for you all to see just how spread around the world you are. I mean, we know because we know your addresses because we've sent you books and we've seen that they've gone out to 13 different countries. So and right the way across the US and right the way across Europe. And so many Canadians, my goodness, we've had more Canadians than we've ever had before, which is fabulous. So yeah, let's see what we've got here. So we've got California, Asheville, Glasgow, England, Canberra, Australia. My goodness, Becky, that is good morning to you. Wow, well done you. Adele, Worcester, Ireland, which is very close to here. Norwich, UK, Alabama, USA. Amy Wilding is one of our authors. Hello, Amy. Louisville, Kentucky. We have Plymouth, UK, France, Pembrokeshire, Wales, Cornwall, UK, Eugene, Oregon, which I know is in the US because I'm good at geography. We've got North Carolina, we've got Cleveland, Ohio. We have got another of our authors, Carly Mountain, who is author of Descent and Rising from Sheffield, UK. We've got Maryland, US. Somebody who hasn't received their book yet. Sorry, Louise, it's on its way. Denmark with Lisa. We've got New Zealand. My goodness, that'll be another very early morning. Hello, hello. I see you, Jane. Hello. Lovely to put a face to a name. We've got Carol. We've got Adele. Sorry, Carol is from Vancouver in Canada, somewhere I really want to go. Adele is from Hull in the UK. We've got Sarah in Cardiff. We've got Rosalie in Germany. My goodness, that is quite an incredible spread. And we've got more people waiting for me to let them in. So, oi, deep breaths. Welcome. Thank you for answering the call, to contribute, for answering the call to buy the book, for showing up here, answering the call to be here together to celebrate the book and to celebrate our creativity and all the work and effort and courage that it took to make it happen. One of the most touching things about this book is that there's a lot of women in it who have never had their work in print before, have never seen their work published by somebody else, who perhaps have dreamed their whole lives of seeing their name on the cover of a book. And that was the greatest honor, to make that dream come true for many, many women. It's one of the reasons I started Womancraft. And in order to keep my sanity, we've had to stay small. So we can only publish 4 or 5 women a year. And so to be able to get that many women published and into a book in 1 year feels like a real celebration of why we started Womancraft and that dream. And so for making lots of other women's dreams come true, I'm really delighted, because I remember just how proud I was the first time I saw my book in paper and could hold it. And I mean, I'm 12 books in now of my own, and I still, each time one is printed and it comes to me for the first time, I carry it round for at least a week, and I take it in the car with me, and I take it to see my friends, and it stays in my handbag and gets all mashed up. But I consider my books my babies, and I've got 3 real life babies, and who are all teenagers now. And so the way I can carry on having babies is by making books. And so I hope you feel that way about the book yourself, feel that way about holding it in your hands and the accomplishment that it takes to create work and to put it out in the world is a big deal. It's a big deal to find your voice. It's a big deal to find the words that need to come through you. It's a big deal to put them on paper, even if nobody else ever reads them. That's a big deal. But then to send it out to somebody who's going to judge it, who might like it or might not, that's a really big deal. That takes a lot of courage. And then getting to see it in print is the final pat on the back from the universe of, well done, you were brave. You did that thing that mattered to you. You took that risk. You risked failure. You risked rejection. And you did it. And we've all got pieces that have been rejected. But that doesn't mean that we're rejected, and it doesn't mean that we're not good enough or our work isn't good enough. It just means it wasn't the right time, it wasn't the right place, it wasn't the right person. And that's okay too. So please, because we're going to have people watching this who pre-ordered but didn't contribute to the book, or perhaps contributed and their contribution wasn't accepted. So know that I've had countless rejection letters in my life. Most of the authors who've written for us have had them, be it from publishers or magazines or newspapers or whoever. Not everyone is going to love your work all the time, and that's okay. Keep writing, keep thinking, keep sharing, keep being brave. And I think that's what we really need to remember as we enter into this new and interesting era in the US. The elephant in the room, because I know that we have all sorts of people from all sorts of different political persuasions, but things are going to get interesting and different and change in the next few months. And, you know, for many of us, it was a real disappointment that for the second time, a woman didn't get in. And as I was writing the introduction to it, it was just, you lived through it, but the news was changing all the time. First it was the two dinosaurs up against each other, the two last bits of patriarchy, battling against each other. And then Biden steps aside, and then Kamala comes in, and everyone thinks, oh, maybe. And now we've got Trump again, and we're going to see how that works out. So, our thinking, our feeling, our actions are needed. This is not a time to curl up in a ball and just cry and hide. It's not a time to just throw up your hands and say, oh, well, it didn't work. This is the time to reapply ourselves in whatever ways we can to help the communities that we live in, to help the culture that we love, and to find ways to weave our way beyond patriarchy, because it might get messy the next few years. But as my dear friend Tracy says, these are the death throes of patriarchy. It doesn't suddenly come to a shuddering kind of stop like that. Things get messy before they get better. It gets darker before the dawn. So we know that, we understand that, we know that we don't know what it's going to look like. So we have to be there, and we have to be active, and we have to be ready, and we have to be sharing our voices, and we have to be showing up, and we have to be gathering together. Because I can't change the world, you can't change the world, but together we can make change happen. Together we can vision change. Together we can articulate change. We can demonstrate what it looks like by making different choices in our lives and modeling that for other people who might not have ever considered that things could be done differently. And that's what I love in this book, is that we have people modeling what difference can look like. We have how education might look different, how marriage might look different, how motherhood might look different, how the medical establishment might work differently. We have women who are saying, I don't have all the answers, but how about this? Have you thought about that? This is what's not working. So, burning woman came up through me right there. Okay. I'm going to read you a little bit from the end of my introduction. I ask us all to reflect, what do we mean when we say change the world? What do you mean? This big, vague promise was used to inspire and mobilize people in the 20th century when it was the rallying cry from hippies to despots. The question for us now in the 21st century, as we witness the death throes of patriarchy, is not how can we change the world as a massive action, by force of will, at some unappointed time in the future. This is the endless lie of governments, reformers, and rebels. No, the question is, how can we live well now? How can we embody our beliefs and values more completely each day? How can we create community here with the people to hand, rather than decry or ignore those many different folk we share our geographical communities with, wishing for the ideal, like-minded folk we would cherry pick for the utopian community we dream of? Just admitting somebody. How can we create now? What will we create? Who with? This is not to say that we don't consider our greater environmental and political impact, that we don't think of the future. We should, and we must. It is something that patriarchal culture has been remiss at. But most of all, we must think and feel broader, wider, deeper, wiser, always paying attention to the larger pattern, both warp and weft. We must keep on weaving, whilst there is breath in our bodies and the sun in the sky, there is hope. Let us weave it through our lives and communities, creating beautiful new patterns in the cloth to keep us warm on cold nights and to lie on the sun together on summer afternoons. Creativity, community, and hope will take us far, whatever the fates bring. These should be what we return to. These are what we must practice: creativity, community, hope. The time for fear and inaction is past. Let us commit to no longer freezing in the face of uncertainty, playing dead, or waiting for someone else to save us. Instead, let us commit to taking creative action with hope together. There are no right answers. Perfect will never appear. Let's talk and listen, gather and make, and rest. This is perhaps the most rebellious act against patriarchy. Rest. Then feel, then vision, then take action, alone and together, in sisterhood. Nice to read that aloud. Thank you. So that is my vision, and that is my hope, and that is what came to me as I went through well over 200 different women's submissions, and most women submitted 3 pieces. So there was so much goodness that came my way that lifted me up and inspired me, and it was just so wonderful to get the privilege to weave that together somehow. So I'm going to invite some of these contributors to now share their contributions. So we have a lot of us here. I have my list here. We have a lot of us here, and it's disappeared on me now, 1 second. There we go. And I'm not going to get through everybody, so I do apologize for that. What I'm going to ask you to do is if you can just introduce yourself by name, and you can tell us, you've told us in the thing where you're from, but just remind us where you're from, the title of the piece that you've got in there, what inspired it, and then just read us a little bit from it. If it's a short snippet, then read the whole thing. But if it's 3 pages long, just read us your favorite paragraph or your favorite verse of the poem so that we can have as many voices as possible. I am going to be as respectful as everyone's time as possible. So it is going to be finishing at 8 today. So this is going to be an hour-long call. So I am going to call on, first on my list is Jane Catherine Severn. If you'd like to unmute yourself, the floor is yours. It's all right, I can.
Yes, got it. So it's a great honour to be woven into the fabric of the compendium from way over here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. My piece is called Feminome, a Paradigm Revolution. So I've been deeply immersed for the last 43 years in a life mission, recognising a body of knowledge we absolutely must have about ourselves if we are to truly get free of patriarchy and live on our own terms. So this is the actual design that we're made to, and it's been out of our consciousness for far too long. The 4M sequence: menarche, menstrual cycle years, menopause, and mature life. And this is a thing so big and beautiful and so holographic, so full of properties and resonances and applications and potentials that I'm still learning new stuff about it after all these years. I originally called it menstruality, but that's been a bit repurposed, so I've got a new name to share with you now, and I'll just read you a couple of paragraphs. How is it that we have no name in the English language by which to render our 4M sequence visible, speakable, comprehensible, livable in its original potency as a unified design? Speaking a name into the vacuum of this disabling silence is a first step to redeeming what is ours. So just as science created the term genome to name the entire genetic map of a species, I offer the word feminome so we may speak where we've been silent, know where we have been ignorant, and repossess the inherent feminine consciousness and optimal functioning that is ours by birthright. The feminine is the complete lexicon of spiritual and energetic information for being female that is stored in every woman's hormonal circuitry. It's an energetic entity present throughout the cosmos as the divine feminine aspect of all that exists, and at the same time inside each individual woman as her unique personal formula within that matrix. Realizing this exists is like clicking on a hyperlink. A whole new world opens up inside us and around us at the same time, one in which the laws and logics are all feminine and as such non-compliant with the current cultural norms that have so long excluded us. There's so much yet to discover, but in opening ourselves to the feminome's fourfold paradigm, we can avail ourselves at last of our holy grail, the infinite library, the quantum search engine, the original, complete and unabridged encyclopedia for being female, of which we are each a holographic dot. Sisters, the designer life of the feminome awaits us, and Gaia is crying out for us to step into it.
Thank you. Mic drop. Fabulous. Thank you so much, Jane. Mary, I'm going to invite you next. Mary Lunan.
Hello, thank you. My name is Mary. I live in Cornwall in the southwest of the UK. I'm honoured to have 3 pieces in the compendium. I'm going to read the shortest one, which is called What If? Right now, weaving our way beyond patriarchy feels an impossible dream. And yet, weaving and beyond are 2 words with so much potential. 2 words with feminine grace and masculine determination. What if together we could do this? Beyond patriarchy, beyond fear, beyond domination, control, beyond raised voices and sometimes fists. What if together we can step beyond? Beyond patriarchy, beyond division, beyond man and woman, beyond husband and wife. What if together we can create a new way? Weaving our way, soft yet strong, weaving a new fabric for society, weaving a life of colour and pattern, weaving our way as equals, weaving love and care for all beings, weaving happiness and joy, weaving our way to an end to war, weaving peace in our hearts, weaving peace between people. What if now is the time? What if together we can change the world? What if we can weave our way beyond patriarchy? Shall we try? Right now? Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mary. Kasia Wallace. Hello.
Hello, I'm Katia. I live in the UK and I wanted my poem Witches to reflect the soft power that women have that is very resilient. It's never going away, and that's why I chose these words. Now, witches, they burned us at the stake. They buried us alive. They drowned us in the sea or in rivers, just deep enough to take the last breath out of us. Tied to a rock to make us stay down there, silenced and bloated, screamed out and charred, muffled and rotten. But they forgot that the fish that they ate me, and the dust that they breathed was the ashes of me, and the food that they grew was fertilized by me. I am even to be found in the flowers that decorate their homes. Millions of sisters like me, resilient and beautiful, gently passing on our legacy. We are not dead, for the witches are alive through you and around you. Nothing is lost, nothing is created, all is transformed. Watch me burn and be reborn like the phoenix, purified, distilled, nutrified, the very best essence of me. Thank you.
Thank you. Kasia, I must have read that, at least 3 times in the selection process and then at least 3 times in the editing process. And it's as though every single word of that was fresh and I'd never heard it in my life before. It's quite extraordinary to have that, when it's in your voice and the words are alive. Yeah, wow, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now, the next person I was going to call on, I haven't seen her show up here, so we will move on to next on my list is Carly Mountain.
Hello, I'm Carly. I'm in the UK, and this was sort of part of a musing for my next book, and it's not from my next book, but it's in the same sort of vein. So yeah, I'll read it to you. Weaving through the power of sex magic. In patriarchal culture, sex has become a commodity. We are told what sex should look, sound, feel, smell, and be like. Our increasingly pornified culture bombards our senses with hypersexualized imagery and schools us to conform to a very performative expression of sex. On the other hand, there is silence, shame, fear, abuse, a lack of sex education, and the perpetuation of religious dogma that has rooted itself into our bodies and stifles our sexual freedom and pleasure. Western culture is Eros wounded, and the shape of that wound manifests in a split, a polarization between what we think we should be and what we really feel and experience. Somewhere in the gap, our true sex magic is waiting to be reclaimed. Capitalist patriarchy thrives on estrangement from ourselves and sells us the idea that we need to accumulate more and more to become whole. We must become naked again to the erotic intelligence that inherently knows how to weave beyond patriarchy. Eros existed before patriarchy, and it will continue to exist after patriarchy. We need to remember how to make love to ourselves and all things. There is power in sex and eroticism. Can we tap into it and let the reclamation of our own body, pleasure, and erotic abundance be the ground from which we weave our magic? So that's kind of a condensed version, but you get the gist. Thank you for letting me speak today. I'm really glad to be here.
Thank you, Carly. And I had the privilege of seeing the first draft of Carly's next book. And oh my goodness, let's just say I had a very nice weekend after reading that. It is a fabulous book, and I can't wait for us to share it with the world. So yes, keep writing, Carly, keep writing.
I will.
All right. Next up, we have Amy Wilding.
Hi, everybody. It's so nice to be here with you all. Hi, Lucy. Thank you for making this happen. I am so pleased to be a part of this collection. I am the author of Wild and Wise, which was published in 2017. And I have continued to write smaller pieces and articles and essays, two of which are in the collection. And as I was thinking about what to share today, there's so much in my mind about what's happening right now. The pieces that I wrote that are in the compendium were written in 2016 and 2017 in response to Trump's first presidency. And when I was sharing these contributions with Lucy, I said, I don't even know if they're still relevant because we don't really know what's going to happen, but surely Trump can never be elected again. And now here we are at this actual precise moment that the compendium is being birthed into the world literally days after our election. I'm in the United States, I'm in Kentucky. So it feels actually even more relevant than it did then, because at that moment in history, it felt like, okay, we are rallying, we're going to do this. And then after this pendulum shift, this swing all the way back to the other way, I think there was this feeling of how can we even go through this again? And like you said, Lucy, after rest, after reflection, after silence, after numbness, I feel like what is arising is this understanding that we are needed so much more now than we ever were. These thoughts, our actions, our feelings, our collective goals are needed so much more now. And so in choosing what I wanted to share, the piece that I wrote is pretty long, so I'm just going to read sort of an abridged version, but the purpose of this piece was to allow women specifically to connect in the goddess archetype that aligns most with what they were feeling and experiencing. And this came through as sort of a revelation to me. And I'm hoping that by allowing women to see themselves in goddesses in response to what is happening, it will allow us to move forward with our purpose and with our work that we need to do in the world. So this is called 5 Goddesses for Social Change, and I'll read you kind of a condensed version. Keep in mind, this was written in 2016, and these words are still completely relevant. These are unquestionably dark times in which we are living. The advances for women, minorities, and the environment that were hard won over the last century have been seemingly erased with the pen stroke of the current dominant hyper-masculine regime. Our world is out of balance, and this disharmony is echoed by the personal imbalance we all experience as members of a patriarchal society. As we reflect on the current election, we are scrambling to find our footing in what feels like the crumbling of our cultural foundation. Whether affected directly or peripherally by the hateful and divisive words and actions of the upcoming administration, many of us are feeling triggered and wounded by the blatant resurgence of misogyny, racism, xenophobia, Islamophobia, homophobia, transphobia, all the phobias, and state-sanctioned violence and child abuse. As the leader of Red Tent Louisville, I have talked to many women and created a space for them to share their emotional, spiritual, and psychological reactions to the election and the subsequent aggression that has erupted. And what I have seen is that this cultural crisis that we are experiencing is actually an invitation, an opportunity to align with the reawakening of the sacred feminine on an individual and global level. There has been much talk in my community and the world over about the reawakening of the universal sacred feminine, a bigger picture understanding that the events that we're currently living through will be the catalyst for a much needed and fundamental shift in the trajectory of humanity. There is a dawning realization that this moment in time is indeed the last gasp of patriarchy, the violent death spasm before the oppressive beast that has ruled for over 4,000 years finally falls. Understanding our individual and collective response to this cultural crisis within the framework of the goddess archetype has helped me and many of my sisters make sense of our intense reactions to the apparent victory of patriarchy over the sacred feminine principles of love, kindness, nurturing, compassion, creativity, conservation, community, equality, and respect for life. Though characterized as feminine in contrast to the patriarchal principles of hierarchy, dominance, oppression, violence, vengeance, imperialism, the qualities of the sacred feminine can be espoused, embodied, and expressed by all people, male and female alike. And it is specifically through this acknowledgement that we can connect with the goddess archetype and acknowledge that we were taught to play the good girl role that we were assigned and not say anything at all if we can't say something nice, while our brothers, husbands, fathers, and sons are conditioned to bury the natural human feelings of compassion, empathy, tenderness, and nurturing, lest they be labeled or perceived as in any way feminine. The result of this emotional amputation at the individual level leads to long-term ramifications at the community and global level, which is what we are witnessing every day. But viewed through the long lens of human evolution, the current moment in which we find ourselves is indeed an opportunity to expand into nothing less than our full humanity. Those who have felt shame about their endless river of tears or who've been surprised at the sheer force of their rage are now empowered and inspired to view themselves as a vessel through which the sacred feminine is arising once more. Although we have experienced individual responses to our grief and shock, what has emerged from our collective unconscious are 5 distinct goddess archetypes: the protective impulse of Artemis, the compassionate response of Kuan Yin, the call to lead and fight that is the signature of Athena, Kali's willingness to usher in the destruction that precedes renewal, and the righteous outrage of Sekhmet.
Thank you so much, Amy. And well done for managing to, that was impressive going, editing as you went. Good job. Every time I hear you speak so virally on this, I want a kind of Burning Woman 2.0 from you, I'm just saying.
It's
All right.
on the way. I think it's on the way.
Good. Good. Because she comes through you strongly. All right, Luby, I see your smiling face. Let's have you.
Thank you, Lucy. Yeah. So, yeah, my name's Luby McNamara and I live in Herefordshire in the UK. And I have 2 pieces in in this wonderful book, which just arrived yesterday with me, so I haven't had a chance to read everyone else, but I'll read some of my piece, which is called Quantum Sheep. And you'll see why it's called.
Do you give a little background to it, though?
I was thinking it kind of comes up in the
Oh,
writing.
does it? Okay, cool.
Yes. Actually, I think, sorry, I have got the book, but I'm going to read from my screen because I highlighted the pieces. My work has led me to create a toolkit called Cultural Emergence. This is an invitation to step into the emergent possibilities of co-creating regenerative cultures, cultures of personal leadership, collective wisdom, and earth care. As women, we have an embodied experience of emergence with our monthly cycles, the alchemy of pregnancy, giving birth and breastfeeding, the transition into menopause. Each life stage emerges new possibilities and surprises on physical, emotional, and spiritual levels. Women live with the non-linear, holistic, and unexpected in our bodies and minds. We know how to birth a new person. We can birth a new world. A quantum leap in our development as humanity is needed, an entire shift from our current patriarchal functioning with all the associated disconnection and destruction. Women know how to move through and support others to move through developmental shifts. Of course, there are times when we feel hopeless in the face of the enormity of what we face, the huge leap of understanding, connection, and disruption of the destructive patterns. It really is a quantum leap that is needed to a whole new level of being and interacting. On my podcast episode with Lucy, I made a slip of the tongue and said quantum sheep. But try using your imagination to visualize a huge flock of sheep taking flight, bounding with the energy of spring lambs. Maybe in your mind's eye they have colourful woolen coats or springs on their feet. Maybe they're jumping across a stream or landing on the mountain top. What else are they doing? Now your imagination is warmed up. Can you visualize humanity making a huge developmental shift? What would that look like, feel like, smell like, sound like? We are activating our imagination and visioning muscles, and the more we do that, the more we are likely to face our vision and make steps towards it. Ask yourself, what would you like to happen? Not what you think is possible or not. We're bringing to life the cultural emergence principle of allowing the possibility of the seemingly impossible. We're giving voice to our heart's desire and widening the parameters of possibility. If we believe it is possible to smash the patriarchy and create regenerative cultures, we will stay engaged, searching for solutions. We can, women everywhere, we are an integral part of the solution with our abilities to tend and nurture, to challenge, to weave, to empower others, to see and feel in cycles and rhythms, to change and adapt, to love. We can be shepherdesses of a whole flock of quantum sheep. So yeah, thank you, Lucy. We were just recording this podcast just around the time of the submission date, and I was like, I think there's something going to emerge in our conversation. Can I have like just an extra day? And she's like, okay. I didn't know what would emerge, but it was the phrase of quantum sheep that led to this whole piece. So yeah, thank you, Lucy, so much for bringing the whole book forth, and let's hope it does really support women everywhere to be part of the solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Luby, and thank you so much for the work that you've done over these many, many years in getting women and men and whole communities really engaged with what change looks like, what community looks like, and how to grow it ourselves. So thank you. You can hear Luby McNamara's interview on my Creative Magic podcast. It was one of my favorites. I'm not really supposed to have favorites, but it was a lovely deep dive. And if you're interested in the creative process, if you're interested in making magic in the world, then I do point you in the direction of that. It's on Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen to your podcasts. So there's Luby's one, and then yours actually reminded me there's another one called The Wild Wool Shepherdess, who I had on recently, and she kind of connects in nicely to the quantum sheet too. But there's Reclaiming Matrilineal Crafts is the next one that's going to be coming up. Claire Beloved, who I know many of you know, she is my most recent one up there. It's full of creative women who are diving deep into their realities and sharing from that, and being inspiring on the way, but not from the surface, but from the depths. So, yeah. Next up, we have Hazel Evans.
Hello.
And I just want to say, Hazel contributed to my last book, Crow Moon, and her bio was in the back, but oh my God, we forgot to put her piece in. It was in an early draft and then somehow it disappeared out. So this time she has, is it 2 or 3 pieces in it?
2 pieces, yes, yeah.
There we go. So, and they're all there.
They're in here, yeah, beautiful. And thank you for having me again in a second book.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. So yes, there's 2 pieces in here, and one of them is an illustration, which actually I put the original behind here, but it's this one from the chapter, and the title of it is Turning the Tables, and it's actually linked to the piece of writing which is called Contract on page 53, if you want to follow along. And really the inspiration behind this is really doing the opposite, because we can't fight them at their own game. And it's really about just shift. They're trying to make us do this, and we're going, no, we're going to do this. And so this is what it's about, is not even trying to fix the old game, not even trying to work it in that game, just going, we are doing the opposite, and that is it, and creating the new game. So it's really about just doing the opposite. And even when you don't know where to begin, because sometimes when we enter into those realms, we've never even done that other way before, but we know there's another way. And it's about just beginning, and whatever the opposite means, just start doing that. And part of that is in this piece called Contract, is about breaking all of the contracts, breaking those old ways, karmic lifetimes, times before, even in this life, and just starting anew, basically. And in the meantime, implanting everything that matters, which is love, connection, bringing on your greatness, everything that you held you back before, allowing that to just flow through now. So here's the new contract, everyone. So the new world contract, aka magic spell, is to the toxic patriarchy, from the witch that will never die, no matter how many lifetimes we journey together. Dear insert name, from anyone who is a tyrant in a place of leadership. I am writing to inform you that your current contract has been annulled. This is the last lifetime your authority has been adhered to, and due to your repeated breaking of the laws of nature, true justice and love, you are thus released from all your duties as of this moment. Insert date. Your time, karmic and all other, in and out of the office is complete. The tower of your empire is scheduled for immediate destruction. Usher in the golden wrecking ball of the golden life. Due to your consistent refusal to love and honor life, you have left me no other option but to love you even more. I shall do this by withdrawing all my energy, attention, and investments from you and your empire. Love grows where my attention flows, and you have not honored my gifts to you. Therefore, access to my magnificent self is now denied. This may be very challenging for you at first, which is why you have been prescribed a lifetime of compulsory attendance at the New World Rehabilitation Centre of Peace and Love. You will start your curriculum immediately in the beginner's class. See Mirror of Truth accompanying package. Due to this turn of events, I also need to let you know that I will be loving myself, my family, my friends, nature, my sole purpose, and passions more than I have ever done before. I thank you for the profound and difficult lessons you have been teaching me. I fully accept my self-sovereignty, leadership as of this moment. I am now the master of my own destiny, and your authoritarian ways are obsolete. I would like to say it was nice knowing you, but to be honest, it has been really difficult. And now I am glad I and the people I love are free. Adieu. Sincerely and with love, insert name. P.S. This letter will explode in 5 seconds. Boom, message delivered, mission complete.
Thank you, Hazel.
You're welcome. I just wanted to say that I wrote another piece that wasn't accepted into it, and then after I wrote that, I was like, is there anything else that wants to run through me? And this piece came in, and I was like, okay, that's the piece that was meant for it. So thank you.
I love the feistiness of it. I love the playfulness of it, because what was really special about weaving this was they were all moods. There are things which are really intellectual in there. There are pieces that made me cry. There are pieces that made me just literally put down the book and just reflect and go into a deep kind of reflective zone. There were pieces like yours that made me chuckle with glee and rub my hands. There were pieces that made me really, really angry when I read them, and really, really sad when I read them. But all of them made me feel something, and that was key. And that all of those feelings are necessary, because we've been taught that, you know, if you're going to be a revolutionary, then it's got to be serious. Well, no, laughter is one of the most useful and healing things, because it turns everything on its head. The ridiculous teaches us so much. You know, the quantum sheep, it shakes everything up, and it allows our brains to be fully creative, because they're suddenly being playful and suddenly it's fun. Yeah, patriarchy is shit, but we can laugh as well. You know, we can find the humor in it together. We can find the ridiculousness in it together. And that's empowering for all of us who are laughing, and disempowering for those who are being laughed at, because they wanted to be respected for it, or they wanted to be authoritative, and suddenly we're laughing. Laughter is an important power. So thank you so much for that, Hazel. Next on my list, I have Judith Laxer, but I haven't seen her. Judith, if you're here, can't see you out of all of these faces. So we're going to go on to Pippa Grace, who is
Hi.
another of our Womancraft authors, author of Mother and the Mother.
Thank you. Hi, yeah, I'm Pippa, and I live in Bristol in the UK, and I love being part of the Womancraft community. It's really an awesome thing. So thank you, Lucy, for everything that you do. And honestly, this feels like something so momentous, seeing this book come together. And when I received it a couple of days ago, I was just like, ooh. And actually, a lovely thing as well is that my daughter, who has just turned 13, also submitted a piece, and part of her piece is in there as well, which is really special. But she's quite shy and didn't want to be on the screen tonight, but she's upstairs writing at the moment. So,
oh, good! I'm delighted.
Yeah, thank you. My piece is called Beyond Silencing, Beyond Shame, and it was a mixture of trying to get across some sort of, it felt like a sort of trying to be an informative kind of article, but I also really wanted to bring in my sort of personal experience. It's around child sexual abuse and the work that I've done as an artist, working with groups of people who have experienced that in their lifetime. And even to say those words is difficult. And I even felt a level of, there was a sort of almost like that shame was around even in submitting the piece, because it was like, will this be accepted by a publisher? Will a publisher want to, you know, to put those words out? And it was so powerful to do that and to put that out into the world. So I will read an abridged version of this. There are approximately 11 million survivors of childhood sexual abuse in the UK. That equates to 1 in 6 people. 87% are women. And I use the acronym CSA quite a bit. So yet CSA is still a largely taboo issue that thrives on shame, secrecy, and silencing. Voices of survivors have historically been strangled out by a patriarchal system desperate to maintain the status quo. As a child in the 1970s, I remember watching infomercials on stranger danger and hearing about abductions and awful things happening to children near where I grew up. I had terrifying nightmares about being kidnapped. But around 2/3 of CSA is intrafamilial. It happens within families, behind closed doors, between adults and children, between siblings. Who would want to hear about that? Why would anyone publicise that? Seal the door tight shut. March 2024. I attend an event in Leeds. Hanging from the ceiling and displayed on the walls are extraordinary illustrations. An ABC of CSA. I almost don't want to look too closely, yet slowly I do. Some I can look at more than others. Some are alive with power and anger. Some seem too dark to be shown in public. It makes my breath catch. Tilts the world to a new angle, one I don't recognise. One where such illustrations can be displayed publicly in a room with beanbags, music, people sharing their stories, an inclusive, welcoming space. I feel the floor listing, my feet slipping. So this is what it feels like when a paradigm shifts, tilting, sloping, stumbling, terrified of losing my ground, and simultaneously utterly exhilarated by the new possibility offered out. Maybe, just maybe, that sealed door is creaking open. The event is run by Viv Gordon Company, a truly innovative activist organisation seeking fundamental change for CSA survivors. The vivacious, indomitable founder Viv is a ball of fiery energy, eloquent, funny, engaging, original. I first came across her work through her TEDx talk, Becoming a Survivor Activist. She describes how CSA remains a taboo subject and is rarely talked about outside therapeutic support settings. Because of this, survivors lack cultural and political representation, resulting in CSA survivors being the largest marginalised group most people have never heard of. For Viv, building community within safer spaces is essential. Creating connection, support, identification. There is power in numbers. Without reaching critical mass, how can the tipping point be achieved? I wonder if we will look back in 20 to 30 years, amazed that CSA could ever have thrived, so hidden from public view, that it could have gone unspoken, affecting so many people's lives for so very long. Between 2019 and 2022, I ran From Surviving to Thriving, a programme of creative workshops where survivors, so frequently shamed into silence and isolation, were accepted for who they were. A research report based on data collected across a 3-year programme showed a significant increase in well-being. One participant described the workshops as a calm, quiet, free speech, free emotion place with no judgment. You can be who you are when you walk through the door, and that was okay. A creative, non-pathologizing approach, it seems, has the potential to unlock long sealed doors. It is an approach that appears well suited to survivors, maybe because, as Viv asserts, surviving CSA itself is a creative act.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It's quite powerful to read it. I realise I haven't read it since writing it. I guess we often don't, do we? So thank you for the space to read that. And yeah, it's yeah, thank you for that space.
Thank you for doing the work, and I'm sorry that you have to, but thank you for doing it, for holding that space, and for not just with that work, but with all the work you do, really holding space for women's creativity and women's voices and expression. It's powerful, powerful stuff. Thank you. I have time for one more. I'm through my list of definite people who are going to speak, so I'm going to do this. It's going to be speaking roulette, so literally whoever unmutes themselves first and starts speaking, it's your chance. Sarah.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, everyone. It's been such a joy to connect with everyone and hear everyone's voices. I've got a poem, and I was thrilled to have it. I really resonated with what you were saying at the start, Lucy. I've never had anything in print before, and I've wanted to all my life. And it's beautiful to be in this company. This poem is you were asking us where our inspiration or a little bit of context. To be honest with you, I honestly don't know where this came from, and if that sounds a bit mystical, then let's go with that. It's about belonging, and it's called Born Necessary. When the fabric of your deep belonging feels lost, unravelled, too cheap a trade has been made. The warp and weft, the weave of us for frayed threads, I and other. They offer little warmth, even less to pass on. Put them on anyway. The work of shouldering bodies into the dead valley in your way up the mountain is a cold business. If you knew of the welcome, the villaging, the hearth in your bones, would you loan one moment longer your bountiful, mendable heart to this tyranny? If we each remembered the gifts we carry, that each into this life is born necessary, we'd walk more slowly. Every moment would be a meeting in the jeweled marketplace where no one is selling, no one buying, everyone bowing and bowing and bowing to the unending light in each other's eyes.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And I'm delighted that you got published.
Thank you, love.
So I'm going to finish us off with, I did very little reproduction of previously published Womancraft work in this. We have a couple of pieces from brand new authors, one whose book has just launched and the other one who isn't out until till next year. But after that, there wasn't any old stuff. But Burning Woman demanded to be in there. She had no interest in any rules that I wanted to set for it. So here's Burning Woman. It is time. Will you join us? We often fear that the revolution needed is too big for what we can give. Too much change is required, inside, outside, and we are too small. But all that is required is that you step into the truth of your life and speak it, write it, paint it, dance it, that you shine your light on your truth for the world to see. And as hundreds, then thousands, then millions do this, each sparking the courage of yet more, suddenly we have a world alight with truth. We are shifting ourselves. We are shifting the world, dancing her into a new orbit. We are filling in the space where our voices were silenced, filling in the blanks where our images have been lacking. We are weaving her story into reality, unweaving the limiting histories, creating our story, reaching beyond religion and patriarchy and capitalism and so-called democracy, into new ways of being and seeing. We are the bridge between worlds. We are the ones we have been waiting for. Arise, burning woman. Arise, burning women. So, thank you. Thank you, thank you for showing up. Thank you for sharing your voices. Thank you for having the courage to read. Thank you for buying this book. Thank you for sharing this book. Thank you. Luby had a wonderful idea, which I think is a great idea. I don't know how to make it happen, but I'm going to try. If you have your book, and I'm so sorry, US, rest of world, Australia, New Zealand, yours are still in the post, still weaving their way to you, but UK, Ireland, Europe, we're all Europe really, sorry, UK, we're all Europe really. Let's take a photograph of us all with our books.
I can do a screenshot, Lucy.
Oh, can you? Well, I'm doing a photograph, so there we go. Do a screenshot as well. Yeah. All of that. Fabulous. All of you who don't have them yet, they are on their way and we will be with you really soon. Thank you for showing up, for being here. Please keep spreading the word. Share it on your social media when it arrives. Show it to your most beloved people. Send it out in your mailing list to let people know it exists, because that's how we get it out into the world and that's how we make little more ripples of change. So thank you. If you want to share this with other people, a recording will go out tomorrow. We're very happy for you to share the link widely. It's not private. We just, with all of the contributors and the pre-order folk, we had to keep it very kind of closed for today, as well as wanting it to be a really nice, safe space. But we had to limit it because we were going to be up against having too many people here and people being disappointed. But please feel free to share the recording and feel very free to share the book. Thank you so much. The next book is, we're working on it already because we had so many contributions. So many have rolled forward into the next one. We've got Womancraft authors and other authors around the world also writing more extended pieces for the next one, which is called Creating Community, and it's all about women's circles and rituals. So that will be out this time next year. This one is currently just from us, just from womancraftpublishing.com, so that we are getting the most from it and that we can then give forward the most from it, from our royalty share with the charities that it's supporting. It will be available everywhere on Amazon and everywhere else summertime next year, once we've given it a chance to be just with us. And it will be with US distributors, so it can be in bookshops from next year. It will be on Amazon Kindle from in the new year. But once again, we're just trying to capitalize on the amount of work that it took to put it together so that we have that coming from here first. So thank you and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.